Upon conclusion of the hearings, the FDA finally bans DES during pregnancy. Why is during pregnancy underlined? It was still not only legal, but still being used. It's just banned during pregnancy. So to give you an example of this DES, these are some DES, I guess, survivors, we can call them. Pat Cody poured herself a cup of coffee and opened her San Francisco Chronicle. The headline read, "Drug passes cancer to daughter." I thought, oh my God, I took that. I mean, put yourself, a few of us in here are parents. And even if you're not, put yourself in the standpoint of a parent. She says, you can't imagine what it's like to think that with the best of intentions, you might have poisoned your daughter. Her life might be in danger because of something you did. You blame yourself. You can't imagine facing your daughter and telling her. Andrea Goldstein is a daughter. She was one that had it. She was a senior in high school in a suburb outside of Boston. She remembered that morning. She remembered looking at the paper that morning because there was a hole in the Boston Globe where her mother had ripped out the front page article. She found her mother later in the library, crouched and crying. A third DES case, Susan Helmrich. She's an epidemiologist and a DES daughter is what they're called now, DES sons and daughters. She was diagnosed with vaginal cancer at age 21. They constructed a new vagina with her colon, which worked well, but the intestinal surgery triggered several bouts of bowel obstruction. It was awful, horrible. I've had 7 surgeries, lung cancer, and 3 breast biopsies. The Dykman study in 1953 came out 2 years before I was born. It showed DES was completely ineffective, yet it was marketed for another 18 years.
Mothers who thought they did everything they could to maintain a healthy pregnancy were creating girls who would never have the same experience. The very people who are supposed to protect you, doctors and mothers, were the ones who caused harm.
Thousands, perhaps millions of so-called DES sons and daughters are infertile, have miscarriages, malformed reproductive tracts, incompetent cervix. Virtually every woman exposed to DES has vaginal adenosis, which is precancerous and requires constant monitoring. Full circle. In the 1950s in the wonder drug, then in the 1970s as a cancer-causing agent, and then in the 1980s as a focus of massive malpractice suits.
So the lawsuits came on the heels of it. So, in 1971, after the devastating news of DES has spread, and it's at this point now obvious you cannot use it, what did the drug manufacturers do? They repurpose it. So from 1938 to 1971, millions of pregnant women took high doses of a synthetic estrogen touted to prevent miscarriages. And so, in 1971, what do we begin doing with it? We begin doing the opposite. From healthy, robust babies to aborting them. So, in the aftermath of something like this, there was a small space for a swingback of the pendulum. Natural childbirth would blossom into a celebrity-studded nationwide movement, an outgrowth of broader grassroots campaigns to demedicalize childbirth, at least temporarily. Because it continues. 1971. The drug, although now banned in the United States, it continues to be prescribed to pregnant women in Europe. 1973, DES is now approved under restricted conditions in the US. Again, morning after pill. 1975, FDA orders lowering of dosage in the United States. In 1977, DES was the hormonal treatment of choice for advanced breast cancer until finally another drug took its place. So it started treating cancer then, after. Preventing miscarriages, providing abortions, and then advanced breast cancer treatment. 1978, US FDA finally removes postpartum lactation suppression from their approved indications for DES list. 1980, a new drug is determined to be more effective as a morning after pill, relegating that role from DES. In other words, it was used until something else was more effective. DES in the 1990s is still approved. 1990s, but only for treatment of advanced prostate and breast cancer. And finally, in 1997, the last remaining US manufacturer of DES, Eli Lilly, stopped making and marketing it. Now this is interesting because we're talking about very specific cases within the pregnancy realm, but this is not a foreign case to how the drug cycle works. So the first paragraph, 1978, is 7 years after the New York Times letter, 1978. It's still going on. 1980s, 1990s, it's still approved for cancer treatment. 26 years in 1997, 26 years after the New York Times letter, 59 years in the entire life cycle of the drug. But thank goodness this is the past, right?